Hello, and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host for this evening, as always, and the title of this show is going to be another Friends of the Show special. It's going to be called Don't Worry About Gathering the Magic, Let's Just Wade On In There. And I know why it's called that, and you will know why it's called that, because joining me tonight, and there's a story behind as to why he's joining me tonight, is the wonderful, the fabulous, the amazing Mr. Bryan Wade. So how are you tonight, Bryan?
I'm wonderful, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm glad to have you on. I think we should maybe explain the reason that you're on here tonight anyway, because we both know a certain man by the name of Jeremy Greer.
Yeah, he's the worst.
He's the worst.
And you definitely need to explain why I'm here, because no one that listens to your podcast is going to have any idea who I am.
No. Bryan is a big he's a big part of the bonfire side chat kind of community. He's well known across that, and I did a show a little while ago with Jeremy Greer, and me and Jeremy Greer decided to say some potentially unsavoury things about people who played Magic the Gathering. And I didn't know at the time, but Jeremy knew that Bryan was a big Magic the Gathering fan, so it was a little bit of a sideways attack against Bryan.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
He knew exactly what he's doing. He always knows what he's doing. So I asked Bryan as a side, I know you play Magic, would you like to come on? And not knowing that obviously everything had been kicking off in the background. So first of all, Bryan, I wholeheartedly apologise for any offence or hurt
it's totally
that was
all right,
caused.
Richard. I totally get it.
It was just him as usual being the worst.
Yeah, I mean, it's all Jeremy's fault. I know you're a sweetheart, so.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very, very kind of you. Now, for everybody joining us the first time, just to make it clear, the reason that we do this is because there's quite simply not enough podcasts out there about board games. And the other reason that we do it is there's also usually not enough podcasts out there, just two guys having a chat about stuff, and giving
just two white guys talking about things.
That's what I'm just trying to forge ahead and do something different, but we just find ourselves falling into the same old. Normally what we do in We're Not Wizards is we delve a little bit into the past before jumping into the present, and then sometimes jumping into Kickstarter to look at the future. So first of all, Bryan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
My apologies. No, it's I've been looking forward to this for a while, because obviously you're stateside and I'm stuck here in rather reigning Scotland. So this has been a little while to kind of organise. So we're talking a little bit about Magic tonight, which is hence the title of the show. But do you want to tell everybody how you kind of got into the kind of the hobby, just to start off, really?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been playing Magic since I'm gonna say roughly 2000. So it's been a while since I've been playing Magic. But as far as board games in general, I think like most people, I did the same thing that everybody does, and I played Catan. And somebody that I knew had Catan and got me into it, and I was like, oh, board games are way better than I thought they were. And it just kind of I like games in general. I've been playing video games my whole life. I've been playing Magic more than half of my life. I've been playing board games for most of my life as well. I like games. So when I found out that board games were more than Monopoly and Sorry or whatever, just a bunch of terrible American games, I found out that there were a lot of good non-American and also American games. And so go ahead.
And you kind of grew. It's kind of grown from there. Because is Magic sounds like? I mean, if that's 2000, that's 16 years. I mean,
yeah. It's been a little off and on. I haven't played the whole 16 years. I kind of flow in and out of it as I get more and less interested in it. I've never totally dropped the game, but there have been periods where I've played very little to none of it.
Okay. Because for those who aren't aware, Magic and let's not assume anything tonight. Magic the Gathering is well, you can't, Magic the Gathering is one of the card games that everybody talks about, down to the point where people don't call it Magic the Gathering, they just call it Magic. And it's really, really easy to assume that us talking away about mana flow and cards and expansions and stuff like that, some folk might be sitting there and going, I really don't have a clue what is going on here. Before we jump into Magic, is there anything else that you're kind of playing at the moment that you've kind of currently enjoyed?
I played a little bit of Love Letter this week, and I know that's not like this super dense game or anything, but that's what Magic is for. That's why we're talking about Magic.
Yeah.
But I listened to your episode with Kate Gray last night, and I was really excited to hear people talking about Love Letter, because I really like that game.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't want to rehash too much territory of what you two said in the last episode. But yeah, it's just kind of, it's a nice low impact game that you can kind of play with half of your brain and just, hang out with some people while you're playing it. I like it for that.
But you've got the Adventure Time set. So
I do have the Adventure Time set.
I'm intrigued to know what the different characters are, because obviously in the main game you've got like the guard, you've got the Baron, you've got the Prince, you've got the King, you've got who else? You've got like the Preacher or something like that, and they all do the different moves. So what does everybody do in Adventure Time?
Yeah, I wish I had the set sitting next to me. But so for example,
got you the
the princess is Princess Bubblegum, and then there's the hero, which would be Finner Jake. The guard is like Peppermint Butler, and they're just Marceline is one of the characters. It's fun. I mean, that game is so adaptable to whatever licensed product you want to adapt it to.
I think they just put it out. I've seen the Japanese versions, which look stunning in terms of the artwork. I've also know that one of our friends of the show, Nick, he recently got the Batman set, and I wasn't even sure there was like a Batman one that existed. So I was just wondering what was, who's going to be the princess? Is that going to be Batman? Is that going to be the Joker? Is that going to be the Joker? I mean, obviously you'd maybe go Catwoman would potentially be the princess, but is she kind of princess material? Would you want to well, I suppose one of the rules of it is if you got the princess card, if you discard her, then you kind of lose. You lose the round, so you're gonna get. Would you want to do that? I'd be interested. I'm gonna ask. We'll ask Nick. I'll send a message to Nick and say, Nick, come on, give me a kind of a rundown of the characters. I wonder, interested who the Joker would be. It's just, I don't know. My mind boggles, colour me intrigued. I'm kind of ready, ready to go. Is there anything else you've been playing recently, apart from Love Letter at all, or is that the kind of the main sideways?
I've got a few games that just are kind of always in the rotation. So
yeah,
this is going to kind of maybe elucidate a little bit of my Magic enjoyment. Is that my favorite kind of board games and card games and stuff are like deception and like social manipulation games.
All
so
right,
have you ever played Sheriff of Nottingham?
I've heard a lot of good things about it. Yeah, but
Sheriff of Nottingham is maybe my favorite like non TCG card game. It's like / board. I guess it's sort of a board game. Do you know anything about the way it plays?
I've known a little bit about how it plays, but why don't you tell the good people?
Yeah, sure.
I'll hand them in your hands. You tell them. You tell the good people what it's about. What do you think you're going to get off easy? It wasn't going to just be 50 minutes of us saying Jeremy Greer's the worst.
That's what I was expecting. What are we doing?
No.
Where are we talking about actual things? And not
we could talk about Dark Souls.
We can do that in the Kickstarter section.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, no, Sheriff of Nottingham.
So yeah, Sheriff of Nottingham is basically you are a merchant coming into Nottingham, and you have to present your bag of goods to the sheriff to be approved for sale in Nottingham. And so you have various legal and illegal goods that you can put in your bag. So when you present the bag of goods, you can present it as a number of a type of goods, and it has to be a legal good. So you can say, good sheriff, I'm bringing into your town 4 cheese. That's what I'm bringing to you today. And you hand him your bag, and it's like a snap clasp, like fabric bag, that you put cards in. And so you hand him the bag, and then he can decide whether or not he wants to inspect your bag. If he inspects your bag and you're telling the truth, then he has to pay you for wasting your time. But if he inspects your bag and you're lying, then you have to pay him for wasting his time. And he takes whatever contraband you have in your bag.
So do people take turns being the sheriff then?
Yeah, the sheriff basically rotates around the table. And so each round, really one person plays as the sheriff, and the other three are bringing goods into town.
Cool. So, is it? I mean, it's actual cloth bags, actual proper.
Yeah, they're just like little fabric bags. They're pretty nice.
And is it just cards inside themselves, just representing the different stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you've got like cheese cards, chicken cards, egg cards, bread cards, whatever. And then there's also like the various like contraband, so you can have like silk or gunpowder or wine or whatever, right?
And how many times have you played this? It sounds like you've developed a little bit of a love for this, so you played it a lot. It's my go-to game whenever we've got a group of people that want to play a board game or something. I always recommend Sheriff of Nottingham. To the point that most of my friends don't want to play it with me because I'm too good at lying. So you're a bit of a trickster then?
I've always been pretty decent at bluffing in card games, which again like helps with magic. And so it's pretty fun for me. I've always enjoyed just being able to try to convince people of things that aren't true. But only in a board game setting.
Yeah, you could better say that, because employers or anything like that, future partners, current partners, bank managers, anybody listening to this podcast. Brian's a decent man. It's not like he's interested in deceiving.
Yeah, I only lie when there's a game on the line.
I only ever lie if I have to win at something. Apart from that, if there's no competition, I'm fine. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Oh, look, is that an elephant behind you? And apart from Sheriff of Nottingham, I've learned to talk. Is there anything else that you've been playing at the moment? Any other go-to games that you like the look of? Have you ever, because you're into card stuff, have you ever ventured into like Netrunner at all?
I have the Netrunner core set, and I have it all sleeved up and everything, and I have nobody that will play it with me.
Really?
Like
I've got it. I'm the same, except I haven't sleeved it. I use it to cut vegetables and stuff like that. I just cut the cards. That's probably the
smarter thing to do.
Use it. I grouted my bathroom recently, so I used a couple of the corp cards. It wasn't any of the serious
I saw you trying
stuff.
to troll me in the Slack talking about your McDonald's cards.
Yeah, whether you we're going to get onto the whole subject of sleeving, because sleeving is an important part of Magic the Gathering. But
it is.
Netrunner is strange that it is. It's a game that has a massive click in the middle of it, and what I mean by that is at the beginning, if somebody sits you down and takes you through the rules, you spend half your time going back to the rules. You really need somebody that knows the game, almost kind of explaining it to you. And it's one of these things that's got a relatively... When I was learning to play it, and I don't know about you, but the way that I learned it was essentially me almost like having somebody sitting there and kind of guiding me through it, and me saying, well, can I do this? What happens if I do this? Can I run against this? Can I put a card here? And actually somebody teaching me how to play it. I mean, how compared to Magic, how would you say it's easier to learn than Magic, or would you say it's a bit more trickier?
I actually think it's a little more like complicated than Magic, but not as complex, if that makes sense. Like the Magic, of course, has been running for 22 years, 23 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And so the one of the things that I like so much about Magic is that it changes all the time. Like the game is always changing because they're always adding new stuff to it. And so I think the base rules of Netrunner are pretty complicated in a way that I'm sure that if I really understood them, I would love, but I've just never had the chance to actually sit down and play with someone who really understands them and can, explain them all to me.
And because you don't have the commitment for it, then it's really, really difficult to... if you're not invested in it yourself, it's really difficult to sit down with somebody else and go, all right, kind of let's go through. I mean, we've all been there with games where you end up sitting down with somebody, try to play a game, and you end up going, should we just play something else instead? Do you want a game of Sheriff instead?
Right, exactly. Because it's like, well, everybody already knows this game, so let's just play this instead.
Yeah, let's just jump back to that one, because it's not worth kind of 45 minutes of my time. It's not worth you sitting there with a blank expression going, so I'm a runner, yeah? Yes, you're a runner. and you're the corporation, yeah? Yeah. So when do you run against me? I don't run against you and the corporation. Why are you putting your cards sideways? Because that's me preventing you from hacking me.
Yeah, I'm icing them. Come on.
Exactly. How do I hack? You do a run. So when is it your turn to do a run? And so on and so forth until somebody just turns around. It's like, I think there's a lot of... but I do know a lot of people that have continued to... really, really get into Netrunner, and it was one of these things that sprung up a lot of, like, the championship circuit kind of was quite big at Netrunner, and I'm assuming it still is. I don't think the packs, I mean, unlike Magic, where you get kind of like, is it called, you get like the blind packs, basically. Netrunner
the difference is that, go ahead.
Well, you can go out and you can buy a pack. You can see,
right.
Well, I'm going to buy, I think there's one called Profit and Loss or something like that. And you buy that pack and you get that set of cards. Whereas if you go out and buy Magic, you can get random cards. They're put in a certain order. But you'll explain that to us.
I will.
I will, hopefully. Have you ever looked at Ashes? Rise of the Phoenix Born at all?
I have never even heard of that game.
You're not. It's we covered it a good couple of episodes ago. It's like it's very, very similar to... It's almost like a cross between... it's very kind of Magic-y in terms that you have a certain amount of energy you have to build up. You've got the ability to summon creatures to fight on your side, and you're protecting like almost like a central character from getting damage. It's Playtat Games. It's good fun. It's worthwhile looking at. It's asymmetrical. Do you know what? I've never ever got into Magic, which is why I got you on tonight, because I'm hoping that you'll kind of remove some of the mystery at the club. Well, at the club where I go to, and that's the Dwarf Club. There are a lot of people that play Magic, and they've got them all sleeved, and they've got them all their decks, and they've got their cards. But what's the easiest? If I was look at me. If I'm starting at the beginning, how would you explain to people kind of what is Magic at the beginning? If somebody's looking over and they're going, "What you doing, Brian?" What would you say?
That's a big question, Richard.
That is a big question.
that's the biggest question, I think, in regards to Magic. How do you explain Magic to someone? Well, you are a planeswalker, and the goal of the game is to kill the opposing planeswalker. And you can do that by reducing their life from 20 to 0, or you can do that by removing all the cards in their deck from their deck.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can do it through the many alternate win conditions that have been printed over the years in Magic.
How did you get in? I mean, stepping back a little bit more, how did you get into it? Do you remember your first game? Do you remember somebody sitting down and handing you a deck and saying, okay, you're a planeswalker, you've got 20 life points, you're going to win by doing this? Do you remember the first time you played it?
I don't remember exactly when the first time I played it was. I know that the very first cards that I ever bought were the 7th edition starter set, which was... it's got to be like 2000, because I feel like Onslaught was the first constructed format that I ever played. And And it came with the 7th edition starter set. Came with a CD-ROM with a little like tutorial game in it. And so I actually was taught the rules of Magic by a computer. I sat down and played that tutorial at my grandparents' house, and I played it once and thought it was super cool, and then played it like 10 more times.
That's cool.
Because I was like, I've got to keep playing this game. And then came back home, and some of my friends and I had played Yu-Gi-Oh! In the past as well.
Yeah.
And so I was like, look, like, we've got to play Magic. Like, Magic is so much cooler than Yu-Gi-Oh! So I was able to convince some of them to switch over to Magic. And it just kind of went from there. Like, I from then on, it's just been like, man, Magic is the best game I've ever played in my life.
Because you sound like, because you've done tournaments and stuff like that as well, haven't
you?
Gone for local...
I go to F&M with Friday Night Magic as regularly as I can, which is that's just the local thing. But then, I also went to, I'm pretty sure what you're referencing is I went to Grand Prix Indy just a few weeks ago.
And how did you get on with that?
It was very fun. It was the first tournament of that size that I've ever competed in, because various life things make it hard for me to get to, to out of the way things, mostly my job, right? As you do. But Grand Prix Indy was only like 2 hours away from me, so I was like, man, like, I need to go. Like, I need to go and like just have a fun day of just playing Magic all day, which was basically what it was. Because I woke up at 7:00 that morning, got to the hall by 8:00, and I was there until 8 p.m. playing Magic the whole time, more or less.
How sore were your fingers by the end of the day? Because that sounds like a lot of shuffling and a lot of flicking and a lot of because see, when I watch people play,
you're only on flicking, aren't you?
You'd never ever see them kind of doing the clever shuffles that you see the magicians do. You know, they kind of sort them into piles. They're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they shuffle them that way. You'll never see anybody kind of doing a proper riff shuffle or anything like that. They're kind of quite.
I will riffle shuffle, but you kind of have to be gentle with it, because as you know, as you've referenced, like, people spend a lot of money on Magic cards.
You spend a lot of money on Magic, but then you could say, it's a hobby, and there's lots, there's people that go out and spend $50, $60 on a video game that they then download and never play, or they play like 10 minutes of. So you could have got that justification. How many cards have you got? Would you say you're quite an avid collector? Have you got quite a big collection? Or if you would say, well, no, I can handle myself. I've got some constructed decks and stuff like that. How many would you say you've got, Brian?
You're really just trying to put me on blast in this episode, aren't you?
No. I'm kind of interested. I'm not saying, right, I want a full itinerary. I want I want a breakdown of everything you've got, because I'm actually from the IRS and we've got to check your tax.
I knew it. I knew this is what this was all along.
This is a bust. This is only getting recorded for the police. I'm not really Scottish.
This has just been a clever accent.
It's just my amazing accent, see?
I would estimate somewhere in the range of 30 to 40,000, maybe, if I had to guess.
I can't even begin to think how many that is. It probably fits in a bit of folder, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, here's my Magic collection. Isn't that
it's kind of just like, boxes upon boxes.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I know that there's people at the club, they come in and they've got like the proper, you get proper kind of hold all boxes that have got locks in them and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Have you got like a regular kind of purchasing thing? Do you like buy once a week? Do you buy once a month? Have you got down to the point where you're kind of saying, I need a card from here, I need a card from there. Do you ever venture into eBay?
I buy most of my cards as singles. Like I usually for a while I was buying a few boxes per set, a few booster boxes, which are 36 booster packs per set. But it's kind of gotten to the point where I don't play the standard format, which is the rotating format that sets rotate out of every 18 months now. And I don't play that very often. Like I'll pick up like a cheap deck that I can play like for a standard F&M, but I mostly prefer like the Eternal formats like Modern and Legacy, or limited formats, which are like Sealed and Draft, which is where you get cards out of booster packs and build your deck out of those packs, right?
Yeah, because there's different ways you can play. I mean, the basics behind Magic. Am I right in saying it's all about mana and building up enough energy so you can summon cards from your hand? Is that kind of correct? Am I close, or am I completely making this up as I go along?
Yeah, no, you're more or less correct. So basically there are 5 different colors of mana. There's white, blue, black, red, and green. And each of those colors has essentially like a philosophy of like the kind of things that they can do as colors. And so you'll have cards like each spell card that you have, which are creatures, instants, sorceries, enchantments, so on and so forth, will have a mana cost in the upper right-hand corner. And so like I'm looking at a card right now, Restoration Angel, has a mana cost of 3 and white. And what that means is that it costs 1 white mana and 3 mana of any type.
Oh, right, okay.
So basically, the white in it is sort of like a threshold cost. Like it's like you have to have 1 white mana to be able to cast this card, right?
So it's kind of like, and don't hate me. This is like when somebody says, "Now, don't take offense," but
I'm not racist, but
I know exactly. I like women, but I love wheat, but Pokemon has a similar kind of...
Yes.
There you go. See, were you offended?
No, not at all. Actually...
So I'm going to cut... No, I mean...
I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that Wizards of the Coast either designed or helped design Pokemon as sort of a way to get kids into Magic.
Yeah.
Because the energy system is very similar to the mana system in Magic. Yeah.
Do you get cards then? Are the cards kind of like, this is worth 1 mana, 1 white mana, or are they kind of worth multiple values? Do you get kind of like cards that are worth like 5 mana, 10 mana, or stuff like that, or is it just each card's worth 1 at a time?
Do you mean like are there like mana producing cards that generate more mana? Yes. There are some lands that will generate 2 mana, and some, there are spells that can generate, absurd amounts of mana depending on what you do to cast them. So they're like, there's a thing in Magic, like a concept in Magic called fast mana, which is basically where you're trading cards in your hand, aka like resources being cards in your hand, to generate mana faster. And so there will be cards like, there's a card called Dark Ritual that is a famous old card from Magic. That is it costs a single black mana, and it adds 3 black mana to your mana pool. And Dark Ritual is a fun card for new players, because when you're new and you see that black mana symbol, you just associate that with swamps, because swamps generate black mana. But what you're and this is I thought this, and I'm pretty sure that every new player thinks this, is that when you see add 3 black mana to your mana pool, it just says add like skull icon, skull icon, skull icon to your mana pool. You think that means that you just get 3 swamps. But that's not what that means. Because mana is this kind of ephemeral thing that's just like floating there. And you don't tap mana, you tap lands to generate mana.
Right. Because this is one of the things that a good couple episodes ago we spoke to John Gilmore, and John Gilmore spoke about how he went into a competition, the first competition he went up against like a 10-year-old child and he did his draft, and he ended up getting a foil land. So what is this land card that everybody talks about, and why is it so bad just to get a land card?
It's not necessarily bad. I mean, if you're just getting like a foil basic land, like those aren't worth that much money. But
right, okay.
I mean, like I like to have foil land, like basic lands, because like I like to make my decks look pretty, and so if I can have foil cards in the decks, a lot of times I will.
So you build up your mana, and you use your mana in order to, I take it, summon creatures or create spells, and the idea is that you break through the other person's defense in order to start taking hit points off of them. Yeah
more or less. So basically, like when you have creatures, when you enter the combat step, you can declare creatures as attackers, and you don't attack your opponent's creatures, you just attack your opponent, and they can choose whether or not they want to block.
All right, okay.
So if they have creatures that are untapped, they can choose to block your creature. Or they can choose not to and just take the damage to themselves.
And I take it that is there the usual kind of reset phase and things like that. So when you do an attack, when you block with somebody, that's them kind of used up for that round, or do you get creatures that can do multiple blocks depending on how they do, or is it just depends when they kind of wipe out, or is there all, because it sounds as if it's been going on for 16 years, there's probably all of that in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I take it.
There is, basically anything that you can think of with Magic, they have probably done before. But yeah, so basically the way it works is that you declare all of your attackers at once.
Right. Okay.
So if you have 3 creatures and you want to attack with all of them, you say, okay, I'm going to attack you with these 3 creatures. And when you attack with a creature, you tap them, which is just turning them sideways, right?
Right, okay. I thought you were actually just going.
You turn them sideways, and so basically the two phases that a Magic card can be when they're on the battlefield is tapped or untapped.
Okay.
And so when they're untapped, they're just vertical, normal, the normal way that you would look at a card on a table, and then tapped is when they're sideways. Right. And a tapped creature can't block.
Okay.
So if your opponent has all of their creatures are tapped, then they can't block with them, no matter how many they have.
And then you could just go straight through, and you can do some damage to the to the opponent. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds. Was it? There's the last time I've seen a mechanic like that, I've seen it quite a few games use that mechanic. Dungeon Saga that we played recently, that had spells that worked exactly the same way, that when you used a spell, you, as you said, you tapped it, but depending on how powerful the spell was, you either put it 90 degrees or you flipped it around 90 degrees the other way. So either reset straight away, or it took like 2 turns for it to reset and work all the way around, so you could kind of use it again. That's kind of cool. With you been playing it for so long, and with you having all the decks that you have, do you have has there been changes over the kind of the last kind of 10-15 years that have made you play it less, or has there been changes which you think, what did they do that for? Or alternatively, has there been changes that have come in that have made you say, this is it, there's been times where you just went, right, it's Magic or nothing, I'm just going to play Magic all the time because the new rule set and stuff like that has come in, has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're of course, because they do, now they're doing 2 blocks a year, so the way that Magic blocks work, the way they used to work is it was 1 large set and then 2 small sets, so it would be large, small, and that would be the sets for the year, basically. Now they're doing 2 set blocks, so they do large set, small set, and they're doing that like two blocks a year now. And so because of the way that the blocks work, where there will be block specific mechanics, of course there are times where the mechanics are less interesting, and so I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to play with these cards that much. But overall, I think most of the large scale rules changes that they've made over the years are actually, for the most part, very positive. And so, like for example, the biggest rules change they did, the Magic 2010 rules change several years ago, which was the biggest sort of rules overhaul that they had done for Magic since like 96 or something.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, so the biggest rules change, the two biggest rule changes that they did for that were they made it so that they took mana burn out of the game, and mana burn was this kind of archaic rule where if you generated mana and then didn't spend it at the end of the phase that you were in, it would deal damage to you.
Really? And
so, like, say you cast a card that costs 2 mana, but you tap 3 lands for it, then you still technically have 1 mana in your mana pool, and so you would take a damage from that mana at the end of the phase.
So it could be ending up not worth your while actually storing or try to keep a hold of mana, because otherwise it could damage you.
Well, yeah, sort of. So the way it works is that, like, when you've got, like, you choose when to add mana to your mana pool. Playing a land isn't adding mana to your mana pool. That's just a land. You tap that land to generate mana, right?
Right. So you turn it on its you turn it at its 90 degrees, and then you say, okay.
So yeah, so like if you have a swamp, you turn it 90 degrees and you say, okay, I'm generating a black mana, right?
All right. Okay.
Because that's what swamp does. It generates black mana.
How do you keep a track of the mana that you've got? Because I've seen people play with poker chips.
So for the most part, like the mana in your mana pool isn't that, like, it's not gonna be changing that much except for when you're casting spells. So like for the most part, you have no reason to tap your lands unless you're casting something, right?
Okay. And how do you keep a track of the amount of mana that you've got? Do you use counters or anything in particular yourself?
It's more or less just in your head for the most part.
Right, okay. That's kind of cool. What do you think of one of the recent, I guess, additions was the one where you were able to kind of meld cards together, where you're able to take two creatures and then meld them into a bigger kind of creature. I can't remember the name of the release because
that was an Eldritch Moon.
Yes, that's what it was.
I really love that mechanic, and I wish that they had done more with it, but I kind of get why they didn't, because I imagine that's really hard to design for in a way that is really satisfying, because there are only 3 sets of those. There are 6 cards total that meld.
I think one of them was a zombie rat that went with something else, and
then there was the angel that became the giant horrifying Eldritch Nightmare. I don't know if you've seen that one or not.
I've not seen it. I've seen the other one, the rat. Because I looked up and I was fascinated, because it was we had a quick chat about it with another guest of ours, and he was we were talking about the ability for people to know whether or not you had that card kind of in your deck, because if it was double-sided, because normally the sleeving side of things, we're not going to go into sleeving just yet, but normally with the sleeving side of things, you've got the back of the cards are usually all the same, so people can't tell what you've got. How much of a nightmare was that, doing the when you were, when the Eldritch Moon stuff came out and you were looking at it and going, this is fantastic. How much, when you were looking at that, when you realised that it wasn't necessarily going to allow you to be able to, I guess, not cheat as such, but, you were going to be exposing what you were having? Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I sent you the link to the Brazella.
Yeah.
Brazella Voice of Nightmares is the Eldritch monstrosity that you're seeing on your screen here.
That looks absolutely fantastic.
So the meld cards are actually an evolution of another mechanic, a mechanic called Transform that they had for several years. The set Eldritch Moon and the preceding set that started the block Shadows over Innistrad was a return to the plane of Innistrad from the previous block of Innistrad. And so the first time Innistrad came around was the first time they had those double-faced cards. And previous to Meld, all of the Transform cards just have a front side and a back side, and they don't like combine with another card, right? So this is a thing that has been in Magic for a good like 6 years at this point. Having cards on the back of other cards. So it's more or less like it's fine as long as they have two solutions for it. If you don't want to sleeve your cards, you can use these checklist cards that they put in the packs.
Yeah.
So you'll get like it's just like a normal Magic back card, and on the front it'll have like a list of the transform cards, and so you just put a little check next to the one that it's supposed to be representing. And so when you draw that card, when you play it, then you can say, okay, well, I'm playing Bruna, right? So you would play that, and then you would put the real card onto play, like on top of it or whatever.
Cool. Did you ever use that? Did you use that yourself then? Did you play? Did you use the kind of the Eldritch Moon decks when they came out, or? I guess you must have tried them because
I played like a bunch of limited, of course. I really like most of my experience with like standard sets tends to be like playing limited, which I do a lot of. And I'll do that like I will just like sit down at my computer and draft, do a draft of whatever the newest set is on Magic Online. But of course also like at Friday Night Magic we will do drafts and sealed occasionally.
So just to explain to people, because as I say, this is you're blowing my mind at the moment because it's gonna like because I've always this is gonna be really really complicated, and I see the guys just tapping stuff left, right, and center and going right, okay, I'm doing this, combining moves. I remember seeing one game of Magic that lasted all of about 2.5 minutes. And the guy just went, right, I'm gonna do this. That means I'm going to I'm basically gonna mirror this card. I'm gonna copy this card, and that means I take you for all of this. And the guy just went, yep, fair cop, pretty much.
Yep.
Got up, walked away, tears in his eyes, kind of went home. But that's kind of what happens. Draft is when you're talking about draft. Does that mean you get a set number of cards to make up a deck in order to play off against somebody? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, more or less. The draft format is basically like you sit down at a table with 7 other players, so there are 8 total, right? And each of you has 3 booster packs. And so at the start, each person opens their first booster pack, looks through the cards, picks one, and adds that to their personal pile, and passes the rest of the pack to the left. And so then the cards just rotate around the table until the whole pack has been drafted. So at the end of each round, each player will have 15 cards in their pile. And then everybody opens up the second pack, does the same thing, but passes to the right. Third pack back to the left. Right, so at the end of the draft, you will have 45 cards, right, with which to make a 40-card deck.
Right. So you get rid of 5 then?
Not exactly, because you also just get as many basic lands as you need.
Right. Okay.
Because obviously the packs can't guarantee that you get enough lands because there's only one. As a general rule, there's one basic land per pack. You get all the basic lands you need. So usually that's like 17 or 18 basic lands or lands total, and then like 22, 23 cards that you will run in a limited deck.
Have you, when you've been playing, have you had kind of like golden moments where the deck has completely gone your way and you've just went, right, we're going to own tonight. This is it. Everybody's going down. Has that ever happened? And alternatively, have you?
I mean, it happens from time to time. Like you definitely like you can kind of feel like you're getting into a zone, and like there have been like times where I've been like in a tournament or whatever, and I just like I felt like there was literally nothing anybody could do to beat me. Like where.
and then what happened with that?
And then usually I win those tournaments, and then there are other times where I feel like nobody can beat me, and then I bomb out 0-4.
Somebody just comes in and goes, right, I'm going to go tap, 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 there.
And then I just scoop up my cards and leave.
You'd be the guy that's getting up, turning around and crying.
Yeah, I mean, I think every Magic player has been on both ends of that.
Is there, like any hobby, is there kind of like, because there's a tournament kind of structure to it, are there kind of like, because esports and the video game side of things is becoming quite a big thing with like massive prizes and things like that, is the same thing in Magic? I mean, are there some kind of key names which keep floating up again and again and again that kind of win championships that are kind of almost semi-well known? Or is it still quite, yeah?
Yeah, there's a sizable number of like Magic pros, and you know, like you as in any game of skill, like you see the same names a lot, like winning Grand Prix, winning Pro Tours. Actually the Pro Tour for the new set Kaladesh is this weekend, so I'm pretty excited to see how that goes because there's a couple pros that I really like that are playing in it.
Do they Twitch now these things? Is this something that you'll be able to watch on? Yeah. Yeah,
the Wizards will stream the tournament on Twitch and on YouTube, so that'll be most of my weekend.
You're just gonna sit there with
just put it on.
Packet of crisps, get some juice,
make myself a nice tea, sit at my computer and watch.
Sit in some really comfy sweatpants. But then again, you know, at the end of the day, there's not much of a difference between you, say, doing that and sitting down for, say, 3-4 hours and watching the football on a Sunday afternoon. I mean, there isn't really a kind of a difference, and I think that's why. I mean, that is why, you know, the esports thing is kind of taken off, and it's almost started to drift into the kind of the board game side of things. As I say, I've mentioned kind of there's Netrunner tournaments. And you've also got kind of X-Wing is quite a big thing now with people maybe not moving into winning kind of cash stuff, but there's certainly kind of national, international kind of championships kind of going for it.
My local store, the Game Annex, I'm just gonna go ahead and give them a shout out because I love everybody there and I love Dawn. She's amazing. They do a lot of X-Wing and I'm always very fascinated like watching those people play because I've never gotten into the miniatures games. Like I've played a little bit here and there, but I always think it's super cool. And if I wasn't already like so far in the tank with Magic, like I can see myself getting into that easily.
You're gonna say, right, okay, do I get the X-Wing basic set?
I'd have to sell these Magic cards.
No, that's that's $3. I could possibly get a. I mean, how much does a pack of Magic cost nowadays?
Is it like $3.50, $4.
See, that's not an awful lot, is it?
It's not a lot, but I don't buy mini packs, honestly. Like I said, most of the cards that I buy are singles.
Yeah. Do you have a card? Now, as I say, I'm not going to put you on blast or anything like that. But do you have a card that you've kind of you've got and it is your kind of your cream of your collection that you've kept it nice, and this is the one that if you maybe wouldn't show, say, me or Jeremy, but you might show kind of like the inner circle and say, gather around and look at this card. Do you have like a really, really card that you're like, this is worth like 3 months rent or something like that? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything quite that expensive, but funny story about that is that when I was in Indianapolis for the Grand Prix a month ago or so, all of the vendors, right, like all the card shops, all the dealers will come out and like they have like these like gorgeous table cases of just like all of their most expensive cards, right? And it was so hard for me to not spend $1,100 on one card, Richard. I had to stop myself multiple times.
Really? I mean, what kind of cards are you talking about? Okay, so if you're not going out and spending that money, is there like, if I don't know, say Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have split up, yeah, right?
Yeah.
And if they're both saying, well, Brian, he's a cool guy, and they're both fighting over kind of hanging out with you and stuff like that, and they say, Brad Pitt says, any card you want, I'll get it for you. And, Angelina Jolie says a long thing, but I'm not going to do Angelina Jolie because I can't. But, what card you want? That's as good as
that's that's a perfect. That's
pretty spot on.
Let's go ahead and run that back. Do it one more time.
What card would you want, Brian?
Perfect.
No, I sound like Lois at a Family Guy.
That's what it sounded like.
What card would you want, Brian? Yeah, Brian, what card would you want? Really, I don't know. Stop the show. We've taken it too far.
Yep. We referenced Family Guy. We've just got to end it now.
We just went Family Guy. And everybody's going to go, well, you know what? Nobody watches that over here. Not since it switched channels. Yeah. Anyway, going back to the question, which is a ridiculous question. If Brad Pitt was trying to persuade you to hang about with him by buying you a magic card, is there a magic card that Brad Pitt could buy to make you hang about with him, or would you just hang about with him anyway?
I mean, to be honest, I'd probably just hang out with him anyway. But if he was gonna buy me a card,
yes,
then I mean, it's the obvious answer, but it would just have to be a Black Lotus, right?
What is so special about the Black Lotus? Because I have done a googly check on it, as you would do, right? And there is one on eBay. Let's just see. What's so special about it? Because it's like, is it almost like a meme it's become? Here we go. Black Lotus Beta BGS 9.5. Oh, it's been slabbed.
Yes. Yep. A lot of the really valuable, like the really nice ones, have been slabbed.
Because the only time I've ever seen slabbing before is comics. Because I drew a picture of I painted a picture of the first issue that Spider-Man appeared, called Amazing Fantasy number 15, and I painted it on this guy's wall. And this guy says, I've got the original comic, which is worth about $10,000 or something stupid like that. Yeah. And he says he was going to get it slabbed. And I was like, what do you mean by getting it slabbed? Because I had an impression of him like getting keeping it flat by getting a concrete block, putting it on top of it. Is that what you mean by that? But he went out and he says, okay, here's a Thor. And he had like a Thor number 3 or something like that. He says here, and it's basically, for the listeners at home, slabbing is a process where you take something that you have no intention of touching ever again, and you put it between two big bits of perspex and essentially seal it off.
Yeah, it's just two thick pieces of plastic bolted together.
Exactly. And it's got a little bit of card at the top that tells you what condition it's in. So there is a slabbed Black Lotus that's near. It says it's BGS 9.5 quad, which could mean anything. I mean, that could be a type of car. For $48,000.
Yep. That is I think that's the one that was going around like last year or the year before. Like where I think it was originally graded for like it was the guy was trying to sell it for like $30,000. So I don't know if maybe it sold and someone else bought it, but yeah, like so
it's live. I mean, it's here just now. I could press buy it now and I could send it.
You should. It's a good idea, Richard.
It's like it is actually worth its weight in gold. It's probably more expensive than a diamond, considering how heavy it is.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like over like the history of Magic, like especially recently, like investing in Magic is sort of more like you get a better return on your investment than investing in the stock market.
Well, let's talk about this. That Martin's. Is it Shkreli?
Yeah, Martin Shkreli. Yeah, that fucking garbage monster. I'm sorry, am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
That's okay. I could bleep it out. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. No. He apparently was going around buying up lots and lots of stuff, wasn't he? And just for the sake of buying it.
Yeah, he I guess he just decided, he's like, oh, I've got this much money and I want to start a Magic collection for myself because, he is, for all the things that I hate about him, he's mostly a pretty smart dude, and he saw the same thing that a lot of us see, is that Magic cards hold their value really well, and basically only go up in value. So if you are in it to invest money to get a return, like, you're probably going to get a return on it if you buy the right cards.
It's just a real shame he'll have absolutely nobody to ever play with him.
Exactly.
And I know you listen, so if you do, I know he listens, just in case we're going to talk about him. He's probably got somebody scanning podcast to check who's talking about Magic.
Listening for his name.
So if you are listening, try not to fall downstairs. You'd be a terrible loss. But yeah, so Black Lotus is the obvious one. It's the Holy Grail. But what does make it so special? Is it because of its rarity then, or is it because
it's very old, it's very rare, and there aren't very many of them left, basically.
Is it a good card, though?
It's a very good card. So you're looking at it right now, right?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Notice in the upper right-hand corner there's a 0?
Yeah.
That means it costs 0 mana to cast, right? So you just play it for free. Right, and it's an artifact, which is just it's a permanent card that you put into play, onto the battlefield. And then it has the ability tap and sacrifice to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool. So that means you can add white, 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 blue, 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 black, 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 red, 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 or green, 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 right? Like you could add any of that. So for 0 mana, you get 3 mana to cast anything else, basically, right?
That's pretty good, isn't it?
So yes, it's very good. That's one of the fast mana cards that we were talking about earlier. It's like,
right, okay.
It's like the best fast mana card, essentially.
It is the underlined, highlighted with yellow or pink highlighter pen, the best highlighter card, the best kind of fast mana card there is.
Yeah, more or less. It's also part. So there's also there's 9 cards that have this sort of legendary status in Magic. They're called the Power 9. And that's Black Lotus is one of them. It's Black Lotus, the 5 Moxes, which are artifacts that cost 0 that tap to add a mana of a color to your mana pool. So Mox Sapphire just costs 0, you tap it, and it adds a blue mana to your mana pool, right?
Okay.
And then there's Time Twister, Time Walk, and Ancestral Recall, which is the card that I was looking at GP Indy and had to convince myself not to buy multiple times.
So what was that? Is that the one that was $1,100?
Yes, that's the one that was $1,100. That's
it's I don't need to live in a house. I can live in a car.
Exactly. I have an Ancestral Recall. Who needs a house?
Exactly. I could just show that to people. That'll let me into clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm at the door and the bouncer's giving me a bit of grief, I can just go, look. And he'd be like, whoa, in you go. VIP lounge for you, son.
Yeah, right. Just put it in my wallet and just flash it whenever I need to.
Just exactly. You can actually put it in an ATM machine and it just dollar
just
bills.
Generates money.
Dollar bills just come out. You end up looking like one of those really cheesy kind of hip hop videos where you just get the folk with the money.
Right.
It just pours out the ATM machine because that's how that kind of thing would rock. Let's touch on sleeving.
Okay, let's talk about sleeving.
Let's talk about sleeving. Do you sleeve everything? Is sleeving big? I mean, why sleeve? Why should you sleeve?
Well, as we've just discussed, there are a lot of cards that are worth a lot of money in Magic, and keeping the cards in sleeves keeps them from getting the normal wear and tear that you would get from just shuffling them and handling them normally, right? Because you've just got, I mean, it's just a little plastic barrier between you and the card, but that keeps your finger oils off the cards. That keeps you from scuffing up the edges by picking them up roughly or whatever. Right.
Are you a double sleever then, Brian?
I've only double sleeved. I only double sleeve very certain things. So basically, if I'm playing really valuable cards, so there's a deck that I have that's worth several $1,000s probably. That is double sleeved, right?
Yeah. Well, you would do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because those cards are extra valuable and extra worth protecting.
Yeah, I mean, some people were talking about if you double sleeve it, even if you spill liquid on it, then the card will be fine.
It's mostly safe at least.
But just don't attempt to do it. Have you ever been in the situation then where somebody has been playing about with your single sleeved cards and just been, twisting them out in their hand and flicking them about with a disregard that you've wanted to go, right, I'm going to just take you outside.
Yeah, I've never had that happen. I think that it's funny that you bring that specific, like, that kind of, like, kind of shitty magic. I'm sorry, I did it again.
That's fine.
That kind of magic player.
It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's it's past the watershed now.
Right, because I've spent I basically just like spend like 10 minutes a day scrolling through the rudest / worst MTG opponent you've ever played thread on MTG Salvation, which is like the Magic Salvation forum, and this is just like a Magic forum, and that is a thing that comes up pretty often where like people will like shuffle their opponent's cards like roughly and stuff, and like people get real salty about that, and with good reason,
just kind of like just to mess them up, just to mess with their minds.
Yeah, I mean it's a dick move because like if you're at especially at a tournament, like that people have spent money on these cards.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of just a thing where it's like, man, just respect someone's property. So
yeah.
I've never had that issue, but I'm very glad of that. But I know a lot of people do.
I know that Colin was talking about not Magic, but he was playing a game recently at I think it was Pixel Tactics, and somebody insisted it was either Pixel Tactics or one of his other card games that he's got, and you should look at Pixel Tactics because I don't know if you've managed to play it, but it's good fun, and it's very cheap.
I've been making eyes at it at the Game Annex every time I've been in there recently.
Try it. It's so good. Colin talks about it in the last episode that me and him did together.
Okay.
We actually did an episode on it, and it's kind of like imagine kind of a Magic card, but having kind of 3 or 4 boxes of what you can actually do as opposed to just one, and depending on where you place the card on a grid, that decides the power that the card has.
Okay.
And it's really cheap. I think it's probably going to be about $16 for the base set, and that's all you need.
All right.
So,
yeah, I'll have to check that out next time.
There you go. I'm just becoming a dealer. First pack's free, Brian. Then afterwards, we got to come to some kind of arrangement here. Yeah, he was saying that he was playing. I can't remember what game it was, but somebody was sitting there just like tapping the card almost to their teeth because they were thinking about what they were doing. And he said he swore at them. He's like, what do you think? What do you think you're doing? Kind of thing. So it was
I could see that being very, very infuriating.
Yeah. No, it's just I can imagine because I know that people at the Dwarf kind of, there's guys that have kind of like said, here's this deck, I could trade this in today and I could buy a small car.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, whoa, really? But there's some people that will just go out and they won't think anything of spending a decent amount of money on a deck. But then I'm not going to poo-poo somebody for their hobby. If they get fun out of it and they enjoy it, and as long as they're not doing anything illegal for it, then kind of fair enough. Yes, that's cool. So if anybody's looking, say somebody listens to this and goes, that Brian, he knows his stuff. What do you recommend they do? How would you recommend somebody starting Magic for the first time? What do you think's their baby steps should be getting into the game?
I would say just find out what local gaming store has like the friendliest Magic scene in whatever area you're in, and just go in and like talk to the owners, talk to the employees of the store, like find out who knows about Magic at the like that works for the store. Ask them, like to help you like get set up for like a tournament or whatever, and like for the most part, like most Magic players are pretty friendly, and obviously in as in any hobby there are going to be guys that are not friendly, but for the most part, if you tell someone that you're new and you kind of ask them to like just like kind of police you a little bit, that they'll be more than happy to. Like I really love playing against new players because like I like to like kind of help them get better a little bit, And like it's just simple things like and this is a thing like that I wouldn't do at a Grand Prix, but at F&M, if someone doesn't attack me and they have no reason not to attack me, I ask them why they didn't. Not to try to put them in a poor position or anything, but just to say like, hey, like you should look for a reason not to attack me, not a reason to attack me, right?
Yeah. I mean, is there I mean, you've been talking about it's you can get a lot of cards, you can spend a lot of money. Is how much, how many decks would somebody need to buy to kind of get themselves going, do you reckon? Just a couple of starter sets would do it, or do they need to spend a reasonable amount of money to get involved in the hobby?
So actually, this is really fun. I feel, as I started that sentence, like I'm just like shilling for Wizards. But they actually just started a new product with Kaladesh called the Planeswalker decks. And the Planeswalkers are like the quote unquote like premier card type for Wizards. Like they really love their Planeswalkers, and they're always very popular. Even the ones that aren't as good are still very popular, just because like Planeswalkers are such a cool concept. Because it's kind of like when you have a Planeswalker in play, it's kind of like having like a little co-op partner for your game. Because the Planeswalkers have a number of abilities, and you can activate one of those abilities each turn. Oh,
right. So it's worthwhile. If you're going to be looking at decks, then look at those decks to start.
Yeah, look up the Planeswalker decks. Those seem pretty well built to be like good teaching tools and mildly competitive at an F&M or whatever.
And kind of age group wise, because I play. The reason I know about Pokemon is because me and my middle son, we play Pokemon quite a few times. Is there an age group? I mean, is it if you're likely to go into a local group? Is it likely to be certain ages, or is it a 10-year-old could pick up? Is it something that you
absolutely.
Have to be older?
I mean, the store that I play FNM at ranges in age from like I think the youngest kid that plays there somewhat regularly is like 13, and there are people in their like late 40s that play. And like one of the nice things about like a game like Magic is that when you're playing Magic, like it doesn't matter how old you are and your opponent is, and like what the age disparity is between you, because you're just two people playing a game together. Like it doesn't, like I don't feel bad playing against a 10-year-old, because that 10-year-old can beat me just as well as I can beat him if he's a good player.
Oh, believe me, the number of times I've played Pokemon with my son, and he's just like went and
just
kicked
ruined you.
My ass up and down the entire kitchen until I've just went, right, go to your room.
You're grounded.
You're grounded forever. I don't want to see what you're doing with your green ninja. I bet you feel smart, don't you?
Yeah,
but
I'm sure he
just
does.
Go. No, yes, no. It's a good fun, and it's a good fun, and it's a good game. So sounds like it's it's something quite easy to get into, something quite easy to play, a long time to master. But this has been. Is there anything else you think people should know? Anything that you don't think we've covered? Do you?
I feel like we've done a pretty good job, honestly. Like if we wanted to cover everything, we would be here for days, Richard.
That was my concern, because I was going to say, well, we could cover basic mechanics, but I think we've got a good kind of grasp on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even covering basic mechanics would take longer than we have, I think.
There are actually, because I was joking about there's not enough podcasts about board games out there, but there is actually podcasts about Magic the Gathering, and I was looking at it, and there's entire seasons just about kind of like the basic stuff. Yeah,
actually, do you mind if I shout out a Magic podcast?
Yeah, go for yeah. I mean, one of the things we do is we do shout outs. So I mean, if you've got something to promote, something to shout out about, then yeah, go for it. Let the people know.
This isn't my podcast. I'm not involved in it in any way other than I donate to their Patreon. But there's a podcast that's actually it's nice for new players. So if anyone hears this podcast and thinks, man, like that guy seems all right, but like I want someone to actually teach me about Magic, you should listen to Magic the Amateuring.
All right, okay.
Which is a podcast by two girls, Maria and Megan, who when they started the podcast were new to Magic and now are quite experienced, and they're both really fun people to listen to, and they are very knowledgeable about Magic. So,
well, we'll make sure that we stick some information in the show notes about them. We'll put a link to the podcast, and if they've got Twitterers and stuff like that, and then we'll see if we can dig them out, and we'll put them in there as well. And if you do interact with them, just remember that Richard and Brian doing their We're Not Wizards Magic special sent you, and tell them we said hello.
That's right.
This has been a lot of fun. I mean, I was going to touch on kind of Kickstarter, because that's what we said were things we're going to touch on, but one thing obviously you and me have got in common is that we're both big fans of Dark Souls. We've spoken about I spoke with the Dark Souls board game with Paddy. Very briefly mentioned it with Gary Butterfield, but we managed to avoid Dark Souls. But I understand that's something you have jumped on in as well.
Yeah, so it got me.
Did you? How many Magic cards did you have to sell to?
I didn't sell any, but I probably should have. I can if we want to continue the magic train a little bit longer as far as Kickstarter is concerned. I can talk about these the classic art tokens Marble Edition Kickstarters running right now.
Yeah. Okay.
And what classic art tokens is, so there are tokens in Magic, right? Like you will like occasionally like create token creatures. So there will be like an elf that is just like a token. Like it's not represented by a real card, but you can use just like dice or like little of those little like glass beads, or they do print like token cards, right? That aren't real cards, but that you can use to represent.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what Classic Art Tokens does is, I think it's really cool. This is the second Kickstarter that they've done. They have a bunch of classic art. So like I'm looking at like there's a sapling token that I'm looking at right here. It's a 1/1 creature, and it is the art for the token is They Stand Quite Still Pretending to Be Flowers by Arthur Rackham. All right, okay. So, and then there's like there's a spirit token that is Woman with Birds by Toshio Aoki. Mm-hmm. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're all very cool looking. And it's kind of nice to have just like a classy token collection that you can use. And
how long has the Kickstarter got to go?
As of right now, it's 6 days as of right now. So I don't know when this podcast will be going up. There'll probably be like 3 or 4 days, maybe.
Probably. I might even try to get it up as quickly as possible.
Okay.
But if,
I can send you the link to the thing too, and if you want to tweet it out or whatever, let your followers take a crack at it.
We can put the links out there. We'll put the links out there in the show notes, and we can also send it out through the Twitter sphere as well. Which is going to say, well, yeah. So let people kind of take a look at that and see what they think. And is it funded? I guess that's what it is.
Yes, it is funded. Yeah, it was a $10,000 goal, and they've got $34,000. So and if it's anything like if it's anything like the last Kickstarter, he will have like a store up where you can just buy the stuff. So even if you miss out on the Kickstarter, you can probably still get
that's cool.
the tokens if you're interested.
Yeah, there seems to be happening a lot on Kickstarter. That once things are finished, they're still kind of offering people the ability to go in and jump in afterwards and buy, which is fine, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, me too. There's too many times you don't want to. You kind of on that edge. Do I jump in now, or I'm going to miss out? Do I wait for it to come out to retail? So no, we'll get a shout out to these guys, and if anybody's interested in that, then cool. It should still be available by the time that you listen to this. This has been fun.
Yeah, it has been. You got to talk about something that you didn't think you would enjoy, and you ended up enjoying it.
I'm considering I might just jump on the Magic train.
Yeah. So what can I do to get you into your new Magic lifestyle today, Richard?
I think I think I'm going to go and track down somebody from the club and say, show me a bit of Magic. show me how it works. Because
Yeah,
I think
buy
I'm
a
gonna
couple of the Planeswalker decks and just say, hey, show me how to play this.
Jump in, see what it's like, see if the water's kind of nice and clear and lovely and full of mana. Now,
it is. I would argue that it always is.
Well, you're 16-year veteran, of course you're gonna. That's gonna be. You know, I remember when this was.
I'm not just trying to push my addiction on you. I promise.
No, not at all. You're not kind of enabling me in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely not.
If people want to find you, you know, if they're interested, they went, you know, Bryan, he's a good man, and you've done a few things. You're connected quite a lot with the Duck Feed kind of channel, which has a whole realm of interesting podcasts, but you're quite well known through that network. But if they want to track you down and find out and even say hello to you, how would they do that?
You can find me on Twitter. That's kind of my entire internet presence, but my Twitter account is @WadeBryanR.
Cool.
And okay. I've been doing a little bit of podcasting here these past few months that I wasn't expecting to do. But I don't super want to talk about all of them. I'd feel a little bit gross about that. But the one I do want to shout out, because I think that it's already been talked about, is the D&D podcast that I did with former guests Jeremy Greer and Gary Butterfield and some other people.
Yeah.
Notably Brayton Cameron and Shane Kelly, the wonderful DM who ran the campaign.
Yes, that was it's a fantastic listen. There's some genuinely funny moments. There's also, it's noted it was Jeremy's first Dungeons and Dragons game as well, so that led to some interesting moments as well. But that's worthwhile checking out. Where can they find that? How would they find that? Is there an easy way to do it, or I can put it in the show notes as well if you ping us a link? We'll get that sorted out.
I can send you a link. It's on the Duck Feed Presents feed on the Duck Feed Network, but I can just send you a link so that you can put it in there.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine. Now, for everybody who wants to kind of keep up to date with what we're doing, you can find us on Twitter. We're Not Wizards. You can find us on Facebook at We're Not Wizards. You can see us on Instagram when we do put photos up at We're Not Wizards. You can email us, which is magic@we'renotwizards.com or .co.uk. Bryan, again, this has been a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
It's fantastic. And the most important thing is, remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards.
I'm a wizard, Richard. I'm a wizard of the coast.
Bryan, we spoke about this before we came on. I say we're many things, but we're not wizards, and I ask you if you're a wizard, and you say...
I'm a wizard, Richard.
No, you don't say that. We're gonna, Right. You're never coming on again.
All right, perfect.
Get out of here. But but again, so it's a goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from the last minute disappointment.
And it's a goodbye forever for me, because I'm never invited back on.
That's it. Get out, wizard. Say bye, Bryan.
Goodbye, Bryan.
Oh, again, really? Seriously? And they say Jeremy Greer's the worst.